All right, hello again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going through using kind of an iterative process, a series of payroll applications that sort of dovetail with our textbook, Tony Gaddis, Using Java with Early Objects, 6th edition. And I've gone through pretty much the first 5 chapters, but I am going to go back and kind of go back to Chapter 5, and as I have been doing, I'm going to now go in and sort of start to pare this down, as I mentioned before. So I have, this is what we did in the last chapter, and I'm going to start making some changes to it. Okay, so now this is basically the same program I had earlier. All right, so I am going to get, I somehow lost my package statement. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, we'll fix that. Let's just go ahead and do this. So what I'm going to do to try to make this a little bit, to pare this down just a bit, I'm not going to worry about a person's age. All right, I'm not going to have a total number of employees. I will keep the minimum hours, the maximum hours, the minimum rate, the maximum rate, the max non-OT, and that. Okay, I'll keep all that stuff. For now, I'll keep this, but I don't think I'm going to use it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to just comment it out for now. All right, I'm going to keep the total gross pay. Now for main, I'm going to bring these back again. And what is going to end up happening, you'll see this as we go on. I'm trying to get this set up, so to speak. All right. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these 3 lines, and I'm going to do a file, new. I'm going to put in a new Java class, edu.rankin.jpscott.payroll driver. All right, so here's my payroll driver class. I'm going to start by just putting in those. All right. I don't like the way that looks, because now it put it underneath. I guess I didn't need, for the package, I didn't need to replicate that, which I did. All right, but that's okay. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the line for main, this, and I'm going to put it into my driver. Okay, and now this looks wrong because I don't have a main in here anymore. All right, the name of this class is payroll, so I'm going to leave all of this stuff here for now. I may end up moving it, but we'll see. But I'm going to come down here, and now I'm going to type in public payroll. All right, this is what is referred to as a constructor. We're going to see this in the next chapter. All right, now don't worry about any of this stuff. I'm not going to keep any of this. In fact, just to make sure, in case I need it, and I don't think I will, but for now I'm going to go and throw it underneath main here, but I'm going to put it in comments there. I don't think I'm going to need any of that. All right, so what am I doing here? Well, what I'm doing is inside of my constructor, all right, first thing I want to do is I want to grab these variables and I want to get them the heck out of here. And I want to put them up here. All right, and I don't think I'm going to need the private static at all for this stuff. I'm actually getting into the Chapter 6 material right here. All right, so string first name, I don't want to give any of these initial values. Again, some of these I'm going to remove in just a minute. We don't really need the age anymore. We really don't need the union anymore. All right, so we'll leave that just like this for now. So I don't need that age, and I don't need the is union, and I don't need the employee number. So what I'm concerned with now is the first name, middle name, last name, hours worked, hourly rate, and gross pay. That's what I care about. All right? Okay. What this driver will end up doing is creating a bunch of payroll objects. All right? And if you say, I don't know what that means, then you'll have to kind of stay tuned, for lack of better words. All right? But in here right now, I don't think I'm going to need this. I don't think I'm going to need either of these. So for now, I'm going to get rid of that. And then, you know, rather than removing anything, I'm just going to go and put it down here, or in the other file. All right, so I've got my package statement. I've got my class, and in my class I've created some constants which I have initialized, and I've created, these are called declare instance variables. So each time I create an employee or a payroll object, each payroll object will have a first name, will have a middle name, will have a last name, will have an hours worked, will have an hourly rate, will have a gross pay. Now this one, I am going to put static in here, all right, because I only want there to be one total gross pay. So each employee object will have these, but there will only be one of these. All right, this will be my constructor, and I will call this my no arg constructor. All right, because there's no arguments passed in there. All right, I'm going to actually create 3 of these. So I've got a no arg constructor. I'm going to have a names only constructor. So we're going to have here string first name, string middle name, string last name. All right. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to have this names and payroll and pay info constructor. So I'm going to have these 3. And then I'm also going to have double hours worked, double hourly rate. All right. Now, anything with a J option pane is now going to be in red because I've removed that. So you can see I've got a bunch of problems here. All right, I'm not concerned with that. Okay, what I'm concerned with is, for now, trying to explain to you what's going on in here. I am going to have two files. I'm going to have a payroll file and a payroll driver file. The driver is going to end up creating, we'll start with five instances of payroll objects. All right? Or 5 payroll objects, or whatever you want to call it. It really and truly doesn't matter. Okay, I need to remove, there's a file that's not showing in here. So let me pause for just a minute. So what I'm trying to get across to you right here is, in this file, all right, in our payroll file that's right here, okay, we're going to be changing this, and what we're going to have in here are constructors, and these that you see right here, what these things are going to end up being are what are called setters and getters. All right? And if you say, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, that really and truly is okay. All right? Because we're going to end up moving a lot of this code that you see here, for instance, this display all, etc., we're going to end up moving that into the driver. All right? So let me quickly give you a very short little primer on object orientation. Just a couple minutes. Now, when you look at the idea, when you look at the idea of object-oriented programming, let's talk about what makes up object-oriented programming, or as it's also known, OOP. So what does it consist of? Well, objects, but first let's even be more basic than that. We'll say classes, objects, attributes, methods, and in a nutshell, this is most of it. So what are classes? They're blueprints. Okay? I have been living in Missouri now for a year and a half. I still don't have a house. I'm still in an apartment. My wife is trying to sell our house that's in Illinois. And one of the things that I've been looking at, in fact, I can even show you this, is the possibility of us, because it'll be our last house, building a new house. All right? It's probably going to be just myself and my wife, so 1,500 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath would probably be sufficient. The idea, though, here is when you see a new house like this, if you have this kind of house, let's say that I'm going to buy it. All right? So, I've got the lot, I've got everything. The chances are probably not very good that the builder is going to come in and just dig a hole and start building. Rather, this is going to have some kind of a blueprint associated with it that says this room maybe is the living room and it's going to be this certain size. Back here someplace is a bedroom, back here is a bedroom, and back here is a bedroom. The garage is going to be a certain size, a certain width, etc. It's going to have, it's a 3-car garage, etc. So you get the idea. All right? Well, in much the same way, when you're working with object-oriented programming, before you go and you create objects, you create a class from which you create objects. All right, so they're blueprints. All right. Creating objects from a class is also known as instantiating the class. All right, so what are objects? All right. Look at it this way. If I created a class and I called it person, and I said that each person had a height, had a weight, had a gender, eye color, hair color, etc., and each person could eat and drink and sleep, all right, then all objects, all person objects would have that ability. Okay? So objects are instances of a class. What are attributes? They're characteristics, or, what else would we say? Data. So again, for instance, if I could create a public class person, all right, there would be an example. Then I could come in here and I could say person Jeff equals new person. All right. And then if I said, for example, I could say Jeff dot eye color equal blue. And we could have other things in there too. All right. Methods are behaviors. So for example, I could say Jeff dot sleep 8, which meant I'm supposed to sleep for 8 hours. Jeff dot drink water. Okay? Jeff dot eat steak. So you get the idea. Now, there's more to object-oriented programming than this. All right? Every time you do this and you create a brand new object, so every time you instantiate or create an instance of a class, a special method is called, and that special method is called a constructor. And I'd already shown you a constructor. Right here. Now I can have several constructors. Here's one, here's another, here's another. But each constructor must have what's in the parentheses must be different. All right, that's known as the signature. So each constructor must have a different signature. But this right here, these are known as overloaded constructors. All right, I think I'm just going to stop right here and start it up again. And I'm going to go back and from scratch, I'm going to write both the Chapter 6. I will write a very simple payroll class and then create some payroll objects. So we will do that for Chapter 6. We're now through 5. So for Chapter 6, we will create the class step by step. We will talk about instance fields and methods, constructors. I don't know if we'll get into passing objects yet, but overloading we'll talk about, scope we'll talk about, packages and import statements we'll talk about. So I will be back to continue our discussion, all right, of Java in just a couple minutes.